We will now narrate 3 views on the reason why Bhagat Farid was known as Shakar Ganj, which is the treasury of sugar. The first view is of when Farid decided to go on Mujahada, and his sheikh advised him to go on a fast. Now, Mujahada is an act to conquer the temptations of the self in order to purify one's soul and bring one's soul to a state of readiness to receive the divine light. So this can be in a form of a prolonged fast, abstinence from the comforts of life, and so on. I mean, some Sufis even go to the extent of bodily harm, but this is frowned upon by most of the Sufis. But Farid's sheikh advised him to go on a fast to go on this journey. So when Farid began his fasting, after 3 days of the fast, a man had appeared before Farid and presented to him some bread. And Farid thought within his mind that this might be like a miracle or a divine message from above. So he accepted the bread happily and began to eat it. But within a few moments, Farid became very ill. He became quite nauseous, and he started to vomit the food that he had eaten. Now Farid, he reported what had happened to him to his sheikh, and the sheikh basically replied to him and said, after 3 days of fasting, you have taken bread, you've taken food from a drunk, but thanks to the Lord, that food did not remain in your stomach. So the sheikh said to Farid, go on another fast for another 3 days and see what comes from the Lord above. So after 3 more days of fasting, nothing appeared before Farid, and he became very weak. He was obviously very, very hungry now. And because due to this hunger, he put some stones or pebbles within his mouth. Now, those pebbles actually turned into sugar. But Farid in his mind thought that this might be deception from the devil, from falsehood. So he spat these stone pebbles out of his mouth. After a short while later, the hunger kicked in again, and he couldn't take it anymore. So he put some more stone pebbles within his mouth again. Now miraculously, these stone pebbles turned into sugar, and Farid spat these out again. Now this happened for a 3rd time. Those stone pebbles turned into sugar once again. So in the morning, Sheikh Farid, he reported these events to his sheikh, and the sheikh's reply was, it would have been better, it would have been good if you had actually eaten them. This was actually a miracle from above. So this is one such story of the reason for the name of Sheikh Farid being known as Shakar Ganj. Now, a second view of why Farid was known as Shakar Ganj, this is a second story, could have been that once a trader was taking a caravan of camels that were loaded with sugar, and he was taking the sugar from Multan to Delhi. Now, once the trader was passing through a Jordan, Saint Farid just inquired as to what was actually being carried upon these camels. Now, the trader, he basically sarcastically replied to Farid that, oh, this is just salt. This is only salt that I'm carrying on these camels. Now, Farid in his mind knew what was going on, and upon this trader's mind. So Farid replied to him, oh yes, it may be salt. Now, once the trader reached Delhi, which was his destination for the camel and his goods, he was in complete shock and was very disturbed because that he found that all of his bags of sugar that he was carrying had miraculously turned to salt. So the trader knew within his mind that he had made a mistake, that he had actually insulted a saintly being. So this trader immediately returned to Ajodhan and found Saint Farid, and he begged for his forgiveness and apologized to him. So Farid in this instance said that if it is sugar, then it shall become sugar. Now the trader returned back to Delhi, and he was very happy and pleased to find that the salt had miraculously turned back into sugar by the grace of the Lord. This is a second view of the reason why Saint Farid was known as Shakar Ganj or Ganj-e-Shakar. Now, the third view of Farid being known as the treasury of sugar is what we have mentioned in the first video of this series, is when Farid's mother used to teach him prayers. And when Farid as a child used to ask his mother what was actually gained by me doing prayers and praising the Lord, his mother used to simply reply that you obtain sweetness of sugar. So every time Farid used to do prayers, she used to hide sugar under his prayer mat. And once he'd finished his prayers, she used to bring out the sugar and give it to Farid as a reward for his prayers and devotion to the Lord. Now, one day his mother had forgotten to put the sugar underneath the prayer mat, and after Farid had finished his prayers, Farid found sugar underneath his prayer mat. This was obviously a sign of a miracle from the Lord above. So from that day, his mother started to call him Shakar Ganj, or the treasury of sugar. These were the three such stories or events that have named Farid as the treasury of sugar.